Okay, Article 7. Shall the town raise and appropriate the sum of $91,103 to hire 2 full-time firefighter EMTs? This represents the wages, taxes, and benefits for 25 weeks and certain one-time expenses. If approved, the fire department operating budget will be reduced by $91,103, and this addition will become part of the annual operating budget with an estimated annual cost of $180,700. This is recommended by the Board of Selectmen and it has zero tax impact.
I move the article as written.
Second.
Okay. Who's speaking to it?
That would be me. This program started in 2019 to fully staff the fire department. The fire chief put this in effect in a 4-year plan, and this is the 4th year of that plan. It, due to increased call volume, training demands, response times, and it minimizes the vulnerability of part-time and casual employees that we currently have. And I'll recognize Chief Azina if he'd like to add anything.
Chief, I apologize. Do you want to come over here and use? I'll even allow you to use mine because no one else is sharing.
This is the final year of a 4-year plan. It's been extremely successful in both of in the continuity of operations, especially over the last 2 years, of just having our own employees and be able to control when they come to work and provide service. I think the Finance Committee, again, this year has done a great job of trying to reduce the complexity of an issue down to a few short sentences, and so I'll just go with their recommendation on that.
Thank you, Chief. I recognize the Finance Chair, Tom Downing.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. The Weare Finance Committee recommends this article by a vote of 8-1. The committee supports this article, which will add 2 full-time EMT firefighters, completing a 4-year plan to have 8 full-time EMT firefighter positions in the fire department. This will provide a more stable, uniformly trained workforce, avoiding the uncertainties of depending on per diem staff. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, this is open for discussion.
Luke Drake, Duck Pond Road, and obviously for my previous statement, I support this. The question, I have a couple of questions. One, I'm not clear how adding positions reduces the department's budget. If I'm reading that correctly, it says the budget will be reduced by $91,000. Could I have an explanation on that as point number 1?
So in each of the 3 previous years, the warrant article has had a reduction in the operating budget because we have money that's in part-time and per diem wages, and as we convert those positions to full-time, is essentially we're just moving money from one line to another. But in the, I guess to make it more transparent, I guess, is that we're showing that we are reducing the budget in this hand while increasing the budget in the full-time wages. I kind of liken it to like renovating your house while you still live in it, is that there's a lot of moving pieces to it. Even though you're renovating your kitchen, you still need a kitchen as you live there. And so money is moving from one place in the budget to another, but at the end of the day is it's really being applied back to the new positions as they're being hired. As we get to the finish line, we're able to see much more clearly that we have what that final cost is going to be, and that's why this year we're able to put a little finer point on our pencil and say, okay, well, we can apply the whole amount of the first year cost, the half year cost. We're able to pull that out of the per diem and part-time line and apply it directly to this warrant article so that the first year cost is zero, as it says in the article.
Okay, I understand you might not want to leave for a second. So the follow-up question to that is there a corresponding reduction in the number of volunteer staff that you're going to have on hand?
The reduction is the amount of people that we use on a part-time, people that are in the fire station now that are not full-time, that are part-time and per diem employees, is that workforce is being reduced, but our call force is still the same number as it was over the last 11 years that I've been here.
Okay, thank you for the clarification.
Other discussion? Okay. Seeing none, it will, appear on the ballot as written. Okay, all those in favor of restricting reconsideration? Okay. Thank you. Article 8. Shall the town raise and appropriate the sum of $350,000 for the purchase to replace one fully equipped ambulance for the Fire Rescue Department with said funds to come from the Fire Department Equipment and Vehicle Special Revenue Fund? This is recommended by the Board of Selectmen and has an estimated tax impact of 0.
I move the article as written. Second. And I'll speak to it. This replaces the 2009 GMC ambulance that we have. It's a two-wheel drive, medium-duty truck. Has approximately 85,000 miles, and it obviously is 12 years old. In the past 6 years, the town has spent over $20,000 in maintenance and repairs on this particular unit. With the new, if we get a new ambulance, it comes with a obviously newer equipment. 10-year technology has changed. It comes with a patient loading system, so that would reduce strain on our members loading patients. Because of shortages, et cetera, it's a 280-day after receipt of cab and chassis, which basically means once the truck is delivered to the body manufacturer, it's still another 280 days past that. So this ambulance that we would be replacing still would be in service until 2023. Again, there says no tax impact because this comes out of the special revenue fund that was designated for vehicle equipment, vehicle replacement and equipment.
Okay, I recognize the Chair of the Finance Committee.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. The Weare Finance Committee supports this article by a vote of 9-0. Approving this article will result in replacement of one of our two ambulance, a 2009 GMC, which is nearing the end of its service life, with less reliability, increased maintenance, and downtime. There is no tax impact. The Fire Department Special Revenue Fund has sufficient balance and will be used for the purchase. Annual ambulance reimbursements and the remaining balance in the fund are projected to be adequate for future planned major apparatus procurements. Thank you.
Okay. This is open for discussion. Okay, seeing none, it will appear as written. Okay, all those in favor of restricting reconsideration? Okay, that carries. Article 9. Article 9 is to see if the town will vote to join the Capital Area Mutual Aid Fire Compact. The Capital Area Mutual Aid Fire Compact is a wordy sentence. Is a district fire mutual aid system established under New Hampshire RSA 15430A. Membership will convey to the town of Weare and the Weare Fire Rescue Department all rights and responsibilities contained in that statute and by the Capital Area Mutual Aid Fire Compact bylaws. Purpose of the membership for 1 quarter in fiscal year 2022. If approved, the fire department operating budget will be reduced by $11,152, and this addition would become part of the annual operating budget with an estimated annual cost of $84,237. This is recommended by the Board of Selectmen as an estimated tax impact of 1 cent.
2 cents.
I have...
No.
I apologize.
Madam Moderator,
My,
it's me. Hi, you missed a line when you were reading it, and I just don't want there to be any
Oh.
dispute about that.
All right, I'm going to go back and read it again. I apologize.
It's just the line that actually raises and appropriates the money.
Oh, just that?
Yeah.
All right, to see if the town will vote to join the Capital Area Mutual Fire Aid Compact. The Capital Area Mutual Aid Fire Compact is a district fire mutual aid system established in New Hampshire RSA 15430A. Membership will convey to the town of Weare and Weare Fire Rescue Department all rights and responsibilities contained in that statute and by the Capital Area Mutual Aid Fire Compact bylaws, and further to raise and appropriate the sum of $21,060 for the purpose of the membership for 1 quarter in fiscal year 2022. If approved, the fire department operating budget will be reduced by $11,152, and this addition will become part of the annual operating budget with an estimated annual cost of $84,237. This is recommended by the Board of Selectmen, and the estimated tax impact, according to my colleague, is 2 cents. You want clarification?
Yeah, I'd like to get clarification from,
Because I have 1 cent on my,
Yeah, the dollar amount on what you're reading from the warrant that everybody's looking at, the crowd says $21,060. And I think what we have is different, isn't it? Or am I losing my mind? All right, I'll shut up, thanks.
so did you get your question answered?
no, what, can I have the estimated tax impact? Our binder shows 2 cents and the handout shows 1 cent.
It's 1.
It is 1 cent, thank you.
1 cent.
Okay, so the estimated tax impact is 1 cent.
Move the question.
And with that, okay, I have
I'll
it
second
moved,
it.
it's seconded, and are you taking it, Chairman Hippler?
I am. So, Capital Area Mutual Aid Fire Compact, one of its primary benefits is they offer fire dispatch, and it is a group of dedicated people that work for Concord Fire Department. They are staffed, always 2 dispatchers on 24/7. Their entire role is for fire dispatch for 23, hopefully 24 communities. In addition to that, there's additional benefits, compact training or training within the mutual aid area, a hazmat trailer that we would have access to, and additional special equipment. And I would like to recognize Chief Vizina to speak more to this.
We talked a little bit about it earlier today, but our public safety radio system is in need of a major and expensive rebuild. The numbers that are being talked about are in excess of $1 million. It's $1 million, $1.5 million. It all depends on what different components are included in that. The fire department's portion of that, if you will, or the costs associated with the fire department, are several $100,000. We have available to us, if we were to join Capital Area Mutual Aid Fire Compact, is that we would not need any of that input from the radio rebuild, and thus avoiding spending $200,000 to $400,000 on the fire department's portion of the radio. Because with Capital Area comes not only a dispatch center, but it comes a radio network system that they own and they maintain. So part of our dues would be, we have the ability, right, we would be part of that dispatch center and radio system. In addition to that, it has a couple other components. It has a chief coordinator that helps out when you have, challenging or incidents where it involve mutual aid. It has a hazardous materials team that right now we contract services through Nashua as part of the Sauhegan mutual aid system. But we would have that with the Capital Area system. They also do the regional and local emergency planning commission work that is being done in-house not very well. Most places don't do a very good job at that, but that's something that's taken on by the compact. And one of the things that we use on occasion, right, is we run into patients that are exceed our weight limit of our equipment that we have for stretchers and the ambulance. They have that equipment, that bariatric equipment, as part of the mutual aid compact that would be available to us as well. There's a lot of complexity to some of the discussion, and then there's a very simple portion of it, which is if we move in this direction, there's a real financial savings in large capital expenditures that we could avoid by going to the capital area. And I think professionally speaking, is we end up with a much better mutual aid system than the one that we're in now. And so I think now is the time to make that move. And the cost difference, because it does cost more, is we have about, of the annual cost of $84,000, about half of that exists in our budget currently that we wouldn't need to use because we're paying for dispatch, we're paying for hazmat and the mutual aid stuff, and the radio maintenance part on that we have in our budget. All of those funds we wouldn't need for that purpose, and we could apply towards the new costs of capital area. So, you know, the whole year cost is an additional $40,000-ish that you would see in the 23 budget. But this year, we're just looking for that to get started. And again, I think Bill Anderson and the Finance Committee did a great job of succinctly reducing this complex issue down to their recommendation.
Don't go away.
I see that you have some comments that you want to make, but I first need to recognize the finance chair. Okay. So.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Thanks for the compliment, Chief. We don't get many. So the Weare Finance Committee recommends this article by a vote of 9-0. The committee agrees that this move will provide the fire department a better, more reliable, and more cost-effective communications support system. We will use capital areas infrastructure, towers, dispatch, et cetera, which they maintain. The committee believes this move will be more cost-effective in the long term, as will avoid any larger capital improvements in our existing communications infrastructure related to fire. Additional support services not currently provided through Goffstown Dispatch are also provided by Capital Area. The committee notes the recurring $84,000 annual cost for Capital Area will be partially offset by an approximate $40,000 reduction in canceling the current contracted services through Goffstown. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Clarence Gardner. Couple questions. This mentions the savings from the Goffstown contract. I didn't know we were already in a mutual aid with Nashua, so that presumably is saving also. Is that going away? Correct. I think you said?
Yes.
Okay, so there's some unknown savings there.
Well, they're known savings.
Oh, I didn't see it mentioned.
Right, so in this budget year, 22, we're prorating things because we're really looking to start in the final quarter of the year. So we have a prorated dispatch savings from Goffstown of $6,100. We have the maintenance piece, which is almost $4,000, and the Sauhegan Mutual Aid, which we actually pay those dues at the end of the year. There's $1,000 savings there. So the offset, now I got to do math in my head, is about $11,000 worth of offsets in the 22 budget. And then, again, those extrapolate into the 23 budget, you know, for the entire year. So.
Okay, and the Goffstown and the Nashua thing are separate things, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. So the Nashua, when I say Nashua, right, they're part of that Sauhegan Mutual Aid system. And so when we no longer are part of that mutual aid system, right, that Nashua hazmat team piece goes away.
Okay.
But we would be in the capital area using their Central New Hampshire mutual hazmat team.
Okay, much of what has been brought up is regarding the communication system. I thought I remembered from previous town meetings that our communication problem is not necessarily the equipment, but the geography. Is that true or false?
There's probably both of those, right? So Ware's a tough town to communicate in because it's got a lot of hills and valleys and shadows and things like that. We have a system that's really kind of been hodgepodge together that may not be fair to how it started out, but it's at the end of its useful life and doesn't work well.
So the reason for my question is this new amazing radio that we would get as part of this mutual aid compact would work for all of Weare?
Yes.
Okay. And the other thing, it says other benefits, avoidance of a large capital expenditure. Is that the communication or is that other things too?
Yeah, so the large capital expenditure that's on the horizon for, and perhaps John could talk more about that, is that there's going to be a rebuild, if I'm not misspeaking, right? There's going to be a rebuild of the radio system infrastructure that the police use. And we've heard it for several years that the police have a real hard time communicating. But what a lot of people may not know is we use the same system. It's the same.
I would think you would.
Everything's the same. If the police can't talk on the radio, we're standing next to them, we can't talk on the radio either. And so all the same issues that we've heard from their side from the blue side of the equation exist on our side as well, and it needs to be rebuilt. That rebuild cost is more than the ARPA money that they have, right? Those are the numbers that they're throwing around. What this article, the benefit of this article is that the capital expenditures related to fires being on that new system would go away because we wouldn't be on the new system, we'd be on the capital area system.
Right, and that's what I was asking on this slide here, whether there's other major capital expenditures other than communication that are foreseen that this will do away with. I'm looking at the first point in the second column there.
Right, and so so primarily we're talking about that investment part of when they rebuild the system, but what you would also avoid is, substantially large capital investments in the future as we maintain the right. So the maintenance
right, but we're still
now
talking about the communication system. We're not talking about an amazing fire truck appearing out of nowhere. Or
no, but the communication system is owned by Capital Area Mutual Aid. It's not owned by the town of Weare. So if it fails, it'll be repaired by Capital Area. That cost will be spread out amongst the 24 communities that make up that mutual aid system.
Given that, do we know that? I mean, if tomorrow you switch from us to them, will their system work?
Yes. Yeah, we went out this summer. We tested it over 26 different sites. We did an apples-to-apples comparison between Capital Area and the system that we have now. We can communicate throughout the entire community based on those. I would say, without any hesitation, is better than what we have now.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Hi, Tom Flaherty, Sunrise Lane. Does switching add any expenses, communication-wise or any otherwise, other than the cost? Are there capital expenses incurred by switching systems?
No.
No? Okay. And then it was a little confusing to me. You talked about future radio expenses. So the ARPA federal money that we're spending on communications isn't mitigating the fire communication issues. It's just mainly helping police. But you said it was a little bit of both, but...
I'll let you take that one.
So, and this is getting slightly off topic here. The radio system repair/upgrade that we are looking at doing as a board level, estimated as of right now the way we sit today with fire, police, and highway is about $1.5 million. With fire potentially moving to the capital area mutual aid compact, that reduction would be anywhere between $200,000 and $400,000 that we will not need to spend to upgrade our current infrastructure to support the fire department, as that's all taken care of by capital area mutual aid.
Oh, okay.
So that's a potential almost two-thirds savings.
Kind of
right
a bonus, because you were kind of skimming the edge potentially on the ARPA taking care of the whole issue, and does this
Correct.
kind of pull it back
Yep.
and mitigate that a little bit?
Yep, and we're, like I said, we're slightly off topic here about what we're not proposing anything this year
Yeah.
to the voters, but in our discussions with multiple vendors, we're hoping that this $950,000 that the board has talked about spending on the radio system that comes from the ARPA, we may see enough of an improvement with that setup, which is a multi-year project to do, where we don't have to come to the voters and ask for any money, whereas
Right.
if we didn't have this ARPA money,
You'd have to come back.
then we'd be coming back to the voters and asking for $1.5 or $2 million as time goes on.
Okay.
Does that
I
answer-
just asked the question because future capital expenses in communications was brought up as a benefit of this, so
Yep.
that's why I'm kind of going there, but thank you. That's a bonus I didn't know about. That's good to hear about the ARPA range of spending. Just final question. It says reducing the budget by $11,152. Is that a quarterly number, like the membership is a quarterly number?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, John Lawton again. I have a question on the 11,152 is presently a quarter of what you pay Goffstown Dispatch. Is that how you come up with 11,152?
It's a quarter of a combination of Goffstown, the maintenance contract that we have with R&R Communications, and the dues for Sauhegan Mutual Aid.
And the final line is, it says the estimated annual cost would be $84,237. Is that over and above what we currently pay now, or?
No, that's in place of what we pay now. So what we pay now roughly totals up to about $40,000 between dispatch, the mutual aid, and the maintenance piece.
Yeah.
That money would go away, and then you would just have the $84,000.
So is the 84,000 above the 40,000 we pay now, or is the 84,000 total?
Total. In lieu of the 40, it would be 80 now.
Okay. It says here the tax impact is 1 cent. If it's $84,000, the tax impact would be roughly 7 cents, not 1 cent. I don't quite understand where you came up with the 1 cent.
Well, we're only talking about 2022, and that's why it's 1 cent
Oh, just for the quarter?
for the quarter.
Okay, but it says the annual cost, and so that's why
Right,
I
so in the
was-
23 budget, you would get the whole year cost.
So the
which is the
annual cost would be
84.
7 cents. The quarterly cost would be 1 cent or 2 cents or whatever, right?
I defer to the finance.
Okay.
Any other discussion? All right. Go ahead, Tom.
Tom Downing, Winterbury Lane, speaking for myself. I just wanted to point something out, and I hate to be so dramatic about this, but I have a question for the chief of police. If you allow me, it's directly related. And that question is, when we had the shooting incident some years ago, the officer-related shooting who was shot, wasn't that an example of where we had a communications breakdown of some sort, where radios were not going through?
Yes, it was. It took multiple attempts before they were finally able to establish contact.
Thank you. And that's the same system that the fire and the police are on today?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and I realize I may be asking the obvious. I wanted to get a confirmation, but it seems to me that this move for the fire department allows the fire department to be on a system that's much more reliable, especially in life or death situations, and that is the way I'm seeing it. So I just wanted to kind of remind people here that since I can remember, we've had communication issues with our emergency response systems. So it could very well be life or death, and it seems like a no-brainer based on the numbers, the savings, and my history. I have an electronics background in communications, and the cost and what I've heard from the departments and the estimates, they sound accurate from what I know from my past experience and the topography and the environment. For me, it seems like a no-brainer. I just wanted to kind of remind on that life and death thing that I think that's the way we should be looking at it. Thank you.
Thank you. You coming up for a second? I just want to make sure there's no other. Please, you have the floor.
Could you go a little more into, you said the current system is used by fire, police, and highway, I guess, and you're going to want $1 million or $2 million to replace that. And you said if the fire department wasn't using it anymore, that replacement cost would be significantly less. And I don't know what this stuff is, but it seems like the cost to replace it wouldn't be that much based on how many users it had.
It's not so much the users as it is the type of equipment, the different frequencies, et cetera. All three departments don't use the exact same radio. So right now, Benji and his highway crew can talk to each other at the same time fire can talk to each other, at the same time PD can talk to each other. So it's actually 3 separate systems. With fire potentially moving to capital area, that's now one that's no longer in the financial equation of rebuilding and fixing the current radio system.
Okay, thank you.
Liz Evans, 84 Oak Hill. Also, I don't know if this is representing myself, but also the Finance Committee. In addition, with regard to transparency, looking ahead when we consider perhaps the cost of a full year being approximately a tax impact of 7% or 7 cents, please note that unwinding this type of implementation could take perhaps 18 months, and I support this because I think it's necessary, but just to set appropriate expectations for the future, that this isn't some sort of system that can be impacted or implemented and then unwound. And so I'll defer to Chief Azina for perhaps additional comments.
If I heard you correct, what are the steps or the difficulty to go back out of capital area? So with the membership into capital area, we have to give 18 months notice in order to leave. The cost to get in, other than the dues, is we need to reprogram our radios. It's a relatively minimal cost. There's no hardware to buy. There's no, infrastructure necessarily to build. And so really we have to give notice and kind of take those steps backwards. So there's no large cost to get in. The large cost coming out isn't necessarily because we're in capital area, we're not being penalized to come out of there. The real cost is going to be, well, who's going to dispatch us then? And we need a radio to talk on, a radio system. And so that cost to come out isn't necessarily related to capital area penalty, if you will. It's now you need to build a radio system for fire to talk on and to be dispatched by, and that's substantial.
Okay, I don't see any other discussion, so it's moving to the ballot as written. All those in favor of restricting reconsideration? Okay, the yeses have it.